everyone. Welcome back inside Central Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from all three coordinators as they spoke to the media. Plus, Buffalo Bills reporter Maddie Glab joins the show to take a look at this matchup from the Buffalo perspective. All that and more coming up. Broncos held another day of practice here at the team headquarters as they continued to prepare to face the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. And we heard from defensive coordinator Vance Joseph today as he talked about Bills quarterback Josh Allen and how they'll look to game plan for him.
Obviously, in the pocket, having a plan to tackle him is going to be important. He's a big guy who small guys struggle to get down, and he's a vicious runner. So we'll see how it turns out on Monday. But we have a plan to tackle him, and how we rush him obviously is important. But it's a top 5 offense in a lot of areas, points and yards and red zone and third down. So, it's been 3 out of 4 weeks of playing special offenses. So, again, it's a lovely challenge for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Plus, offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi talked about how they'll look to be more efficient in the red zone on Monday night.
Running the football is at a premium. There's space decreases down there, so throws are tighter and it's a little more challenging. So running the ball well, having some good play action off your runs, and then, having a real good third down plan so that if you do get there, having the right plan that has answers for what they're doing. So, the simple answer, the key to everything is execution and having the right plays up. But, those things are mentioned are at a premium down there.
Both Joe Lombardi and special teams coordinator Ben Kotwika were asked about how they would evaluate their respective units' performances throughout the first half of the season.
Your goal on offense is to, be balanced and be able to do what you have to do to win. There are some games where a defense is selling out to stop the run, and you better be able to pass it if that's the case. And so, our goal is always to be balanced. I think if you look at Sean's history, having a good run game's always been even when we were at our best throwing the ball, it makes it harder on a defense to be able to run it. And I think that we've established that we're a good running football team. I think if you look at the passing game, I think if whatever the efficiency means, Russ's pass efficiency is good, but, it's avoiding the sacks, avoiding the negative plays, and, making the plays when you need to. So, but I think to answer your question, we're, happy with where our running game's going, and, just feel like we can get more consistent in the passing game.
Yeah, I think the first half of the season's been very productive for us. I mean, if you look at the numbers, we're number 1 on punt return average. We're number 1 in kickoff return average. So that's check. That's very, very good. And also on the coverage aspect, we're number 3 in punt coverage and we're number 3 in kickoff coverage. So we've done a good job. The best thing is that we've made some plays that has helped us win games. And when you can play that complementary football, which is what we're going to need Monday night, it's pretty rewarding.
And Vance Joseph also talked today about the defense and what his approach was after they didn't start the season the way they wanted to.
It was early still. It wasn't good, obviously. But you can't panic. Just keep coaching. That's what we do. It's more about thinking than being emotional. And finding the reasons why we wasn't playing good. And that's my job. And it's me. I'm a guy that's pretty laid back anyway. But as a coach, when things are not going right, it's my job to kind of find ways to make it better, and to explain versus trying to dictate or to coach with fear. That never works, So just taking our time and finding ways to improve the defense quickly. That was my goal, and it's happening. It's not totally done yet. It's going to be a nice challenge on Monday night, but it's getting better.
And now it's time to take a look at today's injury report. Both outside linebacker Baron Browning and guard Ben Powers were full participants. Now joining me here on Broncos Now to take a look at this Monday night matchup from the Bills' perspective is Buffalo Bills team reporter Maddie Glab. Maddie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, happy to be on with you. Big Monday night game ahead of us. It should be a really fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy the Broncos are back in prime time. I know the Bills have been in prime time for the past several weeks here, so nothing new for you guys over there.
Yeah, I'm honestly ready for a break. We've gone 3 straight. This is our last of the 3, so I'm ready to not be in the nighttime window because as you know, coming off those primetime games is tough the next day in the office.
It is, and especially for like a Monday night game, kind of messes up your whole week leading up to it, and then the whole week after is shorter too. So I feel you on that. Well, Maddie, of course, I want to start off this segment by talking about Von Miller. Of course, he's going to be playing his former team for the first time on Monday night. And of course, as you know, the Broncos have meant so much to him and to his career. I know he talked about them a lot during his press conference this week. What did he really have to say about this matchup and facing his former team?
Yeah, I think media was trying to see if, this would be a type of revenge game or anything like that. He was like, no, this is all love between the Broncos and myself. I'm excited to play them. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like to get to see guys that I have played with before and get to see old familiar faces on the field. So I think he's looking at this game as it being exciting to play against his former team. I mean, a team that he spent a lot of time with and really made a name for himself. I mean, that's where Von Miller became Von Miller. He is such a special player in the NFL, and to get to play against a team that you really made a name for yourself, I think at his point in his NFL career, he's double digits in the years that he's been a part of this league. He's a vet. So I think you look at a game like this and he welcomes the Broncos with open arms and is excited to go up against you guys because the team means so much to him, I think.
Yeah, I know we're all looking forward to seeing Avon on Monday night. A lot of the players this week in the locker room talked about that and getting to face him, of course, for the first time too. Maddie, I know this isn't the start that the Bills organization or Bills fan base had really hoped for. 5-4 to start the season is, their worst start under head coach Sean McDermott since Josh Allen's rookie season. So, what's been the message or the tone there in the locker room this week, really leading up to the game?
Yeah, I mean, this team has not seen a 5-4 start in quite some time, but there has been points where this team in the last couple of years has had spurts where they've won a game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game. They've been doing that since week 4, so they traded wins and losses in like the last 6 games. The good thing is every time they've had a loss, they've matched it with a win in the next week, and this team is wanting to see consistency in getting more wins. The fan bases, the media covering, and especially people who work for the team want to see that as well. And they know that the team is capable of that. In 2021, this team was 7-6 kind of heading into the end of the year, and they ended up winning out. They won the last 4 games and were able to make a run for it in the playoffs. Obviously not make it to the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of familiar faces from that 2021 team as there is right now in 2023. So it's not like these guys haven't seen this before. They've been through it. They've weathered those storms. So I think they're able to kind of take things from that season and apply it to this season. It's been tough this year because there are so many starters on defense who are injured and who are not a part of the lineup. Von Miller is one guy who's coming back and is now healthy, but it hasn't even been a year yet since he's injured that ACL, and so he's still getting his legs underneath him, still trying to get used to life in the NFL as a healthy player coming off of a big injury. He hasn't hit his year mark yet. So he's still getting back to the Von Miller that we all know and love. And we have had quite a few other injuries. And so we've had a lot of non-starters that have become starters on this defense. And that's been tough. And they've done a really great job in holding teams. But on the other hand, it's been tough for the offense because the offense hasn't been scoring like they were in the beginning of the season. In weeks 2 through 4, this offense was averaging 41 points per game. And the last 5 games, they've been held to 25 points or less. So we've been seeing a different offense on the field. And I know this team wants to figure out their identity. They want to find it, but they haven't done so yet. And I think the good thing is that they're at home. This team is undefeated at home. They're 4-0 in Buffalo. We had the London game and lost that. That's a home game for us. But if you're just looking at games in Orchard Park, they've been really great on the stat sheet. averaging close to 30 points a game, been scoring touchdowns in the red zone at like 73% of the time, which is awesome. Josh Allen has had a really high passer rating at home. So I'm hoping that being at home can kind of start this offense off in the right way. They've been struggling at the starts of games, getting that energy, being able to put points on the scoreboard in the first half hasn't been easy for them as of late either. And so they've been playing from behind, and it's tough when you have a defense that's injured, that's playing from behind and not able to, try to take the football as much or try and be as aggressive. So to go back to your question, I think the message in the locker room this week has been like, we know what we're capable of. We need to get back to doing that, both offensively and defensively. And defensively, it's really next man up. That's kind of their approach, because we had injuries in last week's game against the Bengals, and we have some guys who have been limited in practices this week. Our starting middle linebacker is in concussion protocol. He's been limited this week, but we're not sure of his status for Monday. If they miss him, then they're down both of their starters, middle linebacker and their will linebacker. So they're just like hobbling on the defenses, but they've done a great job. They've got great depth there. So I think it's next man up mentality. And then the offense, it's like, let's get back to what we know we can do. We're a high powered offense. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and they've showed how they can play. They just need to do that again.
Yeah. Maddie, you talking about all the injuries on defense. Who are some of the guys that the Bills expect to really step up that maybe this Broncos offense should be on the lookout for?
I mean, Von Miller is one name. I mean, he knows this team. I know there's a lot of different players on this team from when he was a part of it, as well as coaching staff, of course. But this game does mean something special to him. And I'm sure he wants to have a good game against his former team, not for revenge purposes, like I said, but just be out there and be able to put on a show. I think for Broncos fans too. I think when Von Miller left the Denver Broncos, there was no ill will. And so I think Broncos fans are going to look forward to seeing him on the field and probably want him to, have a nice showing. I know Broncos fans want the Broncos to win this game, but they'll be excited to see Von Miller on the field. So I think it starts with the pass rush. That's a position group that's honestly been, at this point, is healthier than a lot of the other position groups. We are down one of our defensive tackles in Daquan Jones, but he really hasn't been a part of the lineup since the beginning of the season. So I think it starts up front. The Broncos have been running the football really well this year, and I know they're getting back to doing that. So I think it's going to start up front with how they can impact the run game, and if they can kind of get hands on running backs before they get into the second level, as well as put some pressure on Russell Wilson. So I think that's where it starts. But then if you get into the linebackers and the secondary, it's really a hodgepodge of names that weren't starting week one. So we'll see how those guys can hold things up. I believe in them. I know they can do it, but it's just tough when you're playing with different guys every week that you haven't, repped with in training camp, or you didn't rep with the week before in practices. So I know they've been switching some things around and just trying to put different guys a part of the lineup in practices and in walkthrough, so that they're more ready for it come Monday night or come whatever game week is ahead of them, because they have been so injured. They just have to get used to playing with new and different faces. And we signed a couple guys to the roster ahead of the trade deadline: Rasul Douglas, a cornerback, and Linval Joseph, a defensive tackle. So they had like a short week last week. They came in, they maybe had 2 practices, and they played in the game against the Bengals. And I would expect them to play again against the Broncos. So those are 2 new faces that are just trying to get used to playing in a new defense, but they've kind of been thrown into the fire because we need guys. So those are a couple position groups and people that I would look to for this matchup. And then, of course, I know it's defense for the Broncos, offense for the Bills, but Pat Surtain and Stephon Diggs, that should be a really, really fun matchup to watch throughout the game.
Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the matchup to watch on Monday night. Looking on the other side of the ball then, Maddie, there's been a lot of talk over here just about quarterback Josh Allen this week. I know head coach Sean Payton, he talked about just how impressive he is, said he certainly earned the respect that he has in this league. So from your opinion, Maddie, what makes him special as a quarterback?
I think his athletic ability makes him special. I mean, he's got an arm where he can throw the ball down the field like few quarterbacks can. He's got a cannon as an arm. He joked about earlier on in his career wanting to try to throw the ball out of the stadium after scoring a touchdown. Now he knows he would get fined for doing that, so he doesn't do that. But he's just got a really strong arm, and he's got the ability to make these incredible throws. And when he does, they're laser throws. Our wide receivers joke around about sometimes it being hard to catch his passes because he puts so much heat on the ball when he throws it sometimes that it's tough to catch a pass. And we saw that in the game last week. He threw one to Dalton Kincaid, and Dalton Kincaid didn't catch it, kind of bounced off his gloves, and it looked like he threw it on a laser. And it was like, that's Josh Allen throwing the ball very, very hard. But anyways, it's the arm that he has, and then it's his run ability as well. I mean, if you have both of those things in your arsenal as a quarterback, defenses have to play you differently. They have to respect you. The respect level goes up another notch when you're able to run the football. And this year they've been putting a big emphasis on Josh's legs and just trying to get him to be smart, because Josh is such a freak athlete that he can do things that nobody else can, but he needs to do it in a window and in a way of being smart. So they've been emphasizing, hey, Josh, if you're going to run, if you're going to go grab a first down, make sure you're sliding. Don't hurdle a defender. Don't stiff arm a linebacker, because he's done that in the past. He's a big quarterback. So he does that, and he can do that, but it's maybe not always the best decision. So our coaching staff has said, there's time and place for all of that, but let's play smart within what time it is within the game, within the down and distance and the score, and thinking about those things. So I think he's done a good job. Week 1 was tough for him. He had a few interceptions, but I think he's done a good job of a better job at least of taking care of the football, especially with running the football, knowing when to do it. And I think that's kind of what gets him in his groove is being able to run the football. He said before, I get into the game by taking a couple hits. That's what does it for me. And so I think he's somebody who does have to be let loose a little bit, because that's what gets him in this offense going. So maybe that's what they need to get back to a little bit in order for them to start scoring 30 points a game again, because we haven't seen it in 5 weeks. But when he is at his best, he is so much fun to watch. And like I said, this team has been so good at home this year. He has been amazing at home this year. He's completing 75% of his passes at home. He has a 117 passer rating at home, is averaging close to 300 passing yards per game at home. So hopefully being at home, we can see this happen.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun, really intriguing matchup. The Broncos are looking to get their 3rd straight win for the first time since 2021. Like you mentioned, the Bills will look to get their spark back on offense and get their season back on track. So I think it's going to be a fun one Monday night, Maddie.
Yeah, I think it will too. I was talking to somebody else about this matchup, and I'm like, I think this is a matchup that NFL fans will want to watch, not just Bills and Broncos fans, because you have the Broncos who are riding a 2-game win streak coming off of a bye. Their defensive play is playing so much better. You're getting healthier on offense, especially in the running backs room. And it's like, hey, if you guys pick up a couple wins, you can be a part of the playoff conversation. And then on the other hand, for the Bills, it's like they've had a win, then a loss, then a win, then a loss. And they're on the outside of the playoff standings right now looking in, and they need wins too. So it's two teams who are, I don't know if desperate is the right word, but two teams who really want some wins right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah, it should be a fun one. Can't wait to see you up there in Buffalo, Maddie, on Monday. Appreciate you joining the show today.
Of course. Looking forward to it, Sydney.
That's going to do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for a game preview. I'll see you all then.